and the problems with the compact fluorescent lamps, felt it was important to send a mailing to every household advising of what the potential dangers were should a bulb break and what the proper procedure for disposing of them.
You got a huge response.
Huge response, but the response was stop the light bulb ban.
Welcome back to the arena. I'm Michael Corrin, and who was that incredibly handsome man? We'll find out in a few moments' time. These new light bulbs, supposed to save the planet and make Al Gore a very happy man indeed. It seems they leak mercury. They're doing enormous damage. This is not some conservative reaction. This is just mainstream people have suddenly announced this. Who else but the very, very great Brian Lilly, who's here in the flesh to explain the crisis and the hypocrisy. It's a new report. I didn't realize in Britain, it's like the Second World War. You know, go down, the bombs are dropping. Do not vacuum them if they break, because you're all going to die.
And so the reason this is back in the news is that we've got this report from CTV Toronto. You know, the biggest newscast, local newscast in the country, saying, hold on a minute, these new light bulbs that are supposed to save the environment they're leaking mercury.
And they're not this is not a political story. It's simply news coverage.
They're leaking mercury into landfills because most of these compact fluorescent light bulbs that we're all replacing our old light bulbs with, because they banned the old light bulbs.
Right. The wiggly ones. Like a popsicle.
I call them the curly Qs or the twisty toxics. Toxic twisties, you know, something like that, because they are toxic. They contain mercury in them. And I had Cheryl Gallant on my show a while ago. She had a petition against her own government's policy to ban the traditional Edison light bulb.
Because we're not playing some political card here. It was the Tories here, as far as I know, and the Republicans in the US who actually brought these in.
Yeah, and Ontario, it was the Dalton McGuinty Liberals, and there were different state jurisdictions in the states where it's the Democrats. This had support across the board. Ban these light bulbs. It's good for fighting climate change. Well, not really. And then even if it was, what about the trade-off? So if you break one of these things, or if you just throw them out, you're releasing mercury into the environment. Mercury is toxic. Mercury is very bad for you. We've been working generations to get mercury out of the industrial system, out of cars, out of different processes that we used to have. I mean, it can turn you mad. The Mad Hatter. That's a result of mercury. So
we should explain that. It's quite interesting because those who made hats, they used mercury in the process, and they were inhaling it, and insanity.
It made them mad, and thus the term the Mad Hatter. So I want to read off. This is Health Canada's directions
for it's incredible.
For cleaning up. If you have one of these compact fluorescents in your home and it breaks, and it's broken in my home, and I didn't know this at the time. You know, the kids knocked over a lamp, but the dog knocked over a lamp. You just clean it up.
Is this why you're mad?
Well, there's lots of reasons for that. But the first thing you must do is leave the room. You have to leave the room and get pets out of the room, all right? Remove people and pets from the room and keep them out of the room during the cleanup process. Avoid stepping on any broken glass. Well, that part would be the same as the old-fashioned light bulbs. But with an old-fashioned light bulb, you did not have to ventilate the room for at least 15 minutes prior to starting the cleanup by opening windows and doors to the outdoors. And why do you do that? To get rid of the mercury vapors, Michael. What do you do? So you've done that. You've left the room. You got all your kids, your wife, your pets out of the room. You ventilated it for 15 minutes. And then what do you do? Well, then they tell you don't use a vacuum to clean up the initial breakage, because that will spread the mercury vapor and dust throughout your home and contaminate the vacuum. You're supposed to wear disposable gloves, if available, to avoid direct contact with mercury. Scoop or sweep up the broken pieces of debris with 2 stiff pieces of paper or cardboard. Do not use a broom, because then you just have to throw the broom out. The broom's useless. Use sticky tape, such as duct tape or masking tape, to pick up remaining fine glass or powder. Then you've got to wipe the area down with a cloth and so on and so on. Once you're done all this, and this is if it's on a hard floor, then you're supposed to put the debris outside in a protected area away from children, but you're not supposed to put it in your garbage. It's not to go to the landfill, Michael. You can't do that. If it's on a carpet, well, then you're in major trouble, and it's going to take a lot longer.
What do you do then? Because good people who believe in recycling, the good people, They were putting these things in the garbage or in recycling. Apparently, you were meant to take them to a specific dump area in an IKEA or a Home Depot.
And there's very few of these.
And we weren't even aware of it. I mean, and these instructions here, this is not a joke. This is the government. Most people, I would suggest, had no idea. They'd heard rumors about it, but they didn't know this is what you had to do if you broke a light bulb. And whoever has broken a light bulb, because, I mean, they're so strong. I mean, they'll never break, will they? It amazes me that this was not thought of beforehand. They're light bulbs. They're like eggs. They're going to break. You're going to drop them. You could buy 3 or 4 of them, and the bag could drop on the floor. If 4 break, my golly, that's an entire medium-sized town, all insane, running around voting NDP.
Well, you could if you broke one of these and the mercury from it ended up, it could contaminate enough water for an Olympic-sized swimming pool. You might say, well, that's not much water. Consider that as our drinking water. Consider that as our water table. So one light bulb can contaminate an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's an awful lot of water. You get thousands of homes dropping thousands of these into the landfill. They're going to get crushed. The mercury's going to come out. We've spent a lot of money. The same man that announced the light bulb ban in Canada, then Environment Minister John Baird, I went to another announcement where they were trying to work with car wreckers to get the mercury. There's very little mercury remaining in cars, but they wanted to get that out because it is so toxic, and they wanted to find a way to make sure that it wasn't going into landfills.
John is a pretty sensible guy. What happened? What happened that day?
I think there was a lot of pressure from the left. They were in a minority situation. The Republicans were getting behind this in the States. They saw this as low-hanging fruit, an easy way to say, look, we're doing something in the name of climate change. We're on board. You know, the government did come close to reconsidering the light bulb ban, I'm told. I mean, Cheryl Gallant's campaign, my own campaign, it did have an impact, and in the end, they decided to go ahead with it. So as of, I think, January, the only old-fashioned light bulbs you'll find out there are in my basement, or the remainders on the store shelves.
Yeah, quite a few of us did by a large number. We were told they had a life expectancy of 5 years, which is impressive. The general anecdotal response is about 1.5 years is more
Yeah, they do last longer than an old-fashioned light bulb. But of course, if you paid more money and bought a 10,000-hour light bulb or one of the long life ones, well, those could last just as long as well. But they don't. The compact fluorescents don't last as long. Now, you know, we're not going to reverse the light bulb ban, I don't think. So is there good news out there? Well, LEDs are becoming more affordable. A few years ago, a pair of LED lights that would replace a standard light bulb would have run you $25, $30. That's coming down in price significantly. And that might be the answer. And they don't have the same toxicity problems.
It would be fun to break one of those light bulbs right now and see everyone panic and what are we going to do about it, but I'm not going to do it. Or am I, Brian? Always lovely to have you here in the big city of Toronto. Why are you slumming it, by the way, with us?
Oh, you know, I didn't come down to see you. Just hanging out with Mark Stein a bit.
Exactly. It's always Mark Stein, isn't it? And is it true there's a Rangers-Celtic game coming up?
There is, and in fine British form, they're warning people about what to say, and police will be prosecuting people that say the wrong things in once Great Britain.
I've got to say, Brian, my religion might be Catholic, but my politics are Protestant. I'm going for Rangers all the way, whatever you think. Mate, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let us know what you think, but don't type while holding a light bulb, because you'll all die. Facebook.com, Michael Curran, Sun News Network.